So today I thought we'd roll the clock back to 2004. I'm going to use a 2004 HD TV. This is a small, one of the first of the broadcast quality HDV cameras that was on the market. In fact, this was the first one. I've had it since 2004. It's a 3-chip professional camera. It shoots on tape, records on a mini DV tape. Let's check it out complete with all the dropouts. Completely off the wall. I've been promising that I was going to do this for a while. I figured, what the hell, today is just one of those days where I've got nothing else better to do, and I figured I'd shoot something, and I'm going to do it a little bit differently. This is normally the camera that I use to shoot my YouTube videos. Sony AX53. I also have an identical one that's the AX33, which is a little bit older, but I use them interchangeable. And I have an AX100, which is my bigger production camera. But I have other cameras beside this. This is a 4K, as is the AX33 and the AX100. And the camera I'm shooting this on. This is a, what is this one? I even forget the model number of this camera. Let's see if I can see what I'm shooting this on. This is being shot on an HDR HC3. HDR HC3. So I'll show you this one in a minute. But because we're not shooting the video on this camera today. No. I brought out the big boy. And I've mounted it to my rig. If you want to see something ridiculous looking, take a look at how ridiculous this camera looks. Okay, this is what we're going to be shooting the video on today. I've mounted my big 3CCD tape-based camera onto my rig. We're going to put the tape into here. It's going to be shot on a mini DV tape. These tapes are high definition, capable when recorded in the HDV mode, which is the mode we're going to use. I'm going to load up the tape into this camera. If I can remember where the button is to open it. It's on the side here. Somewhere here it opens. We're going to load the tape into this camera, and then we're going to shoot today's video. And I'll be monitoring it because this camera does not have an HDMI output. I can't monitor it on my normal screen. I'm having to use the old plasma to see what I'm doing. And yes, the quality actually will look quite good. And I know that people are going to tell me after they see this, they're going to say, why don't you shoot all your videos on this? I can just see it right now. Well, the reason why is, will probably be evident in the video while I'm shooting it. Besides the fact that it's going to take me however many minutes of video I shoot, it's going to take me that long to download the content to my computer. And then before I can even start editing. So time reasons why. That's why these ones are so nice. I just pop out the SD card, and I think you'll agree that this one probably does have a much better picture. But we're going to shoot on this one today, old school. The only reason I'm doing it is because, you know the saying, if you don't use your equipment, it's going to fail. So I like to fire the equipment up once in a while, and I figured what a perfect way to put some hours on the equipment is to use it to shoot a video. And I'm hoping that this video is actually going to be a usable video, because I say it's a garbage video. I'm not repairing something, but I'm going to try something I've never tried before, and hopefully it'll provide a fix for people that have got well, you'll see in a minute what we're going to do on this one. Hopefully it's going to work, but I'm sure it will be entertaining. So let me get the tape loaded up here, and then we'll look at what we're going to do today. The first thing you're going to notice is the color quality is a lot more accurate on the 3CCD pickup. Separate pickup for the red, green, and blue. This is a broadcast quality camera, and it was the first of the small broadcast quality cameras that were used for ENG work in the early 2000s. That's the little HC3 that we saw shooting that little opening. Now we're on the this one's the HDR FX1 3-chip camera, and this camera was a very expensive camera. I'll tell you that much right now. I think it was around $6,500. I think was what this one cost. It was not cheap. Anyway, what are we doing today on tape? You remember the previous video, I pulled the little retainer from the pinch roller off of this camcorder to fix the little Canon camcorder, and I was thinking, what can we do, because we can't get these plastic pieces anymore, what can I come up with that might fix a pinch roller that has come loose? And I think we'll try a couple different things, but I'm thinking maybe a piece of heat shrink tubing that we can put on here and shrink down onto the post, and maybe that will do the job. That's what the hope is. So let me go find some small, I've got some very small heat shrink tubing. Let's see if I can find a piece that's small enough and will work for this application. One thing I really have to get used to is when I'm dealing with tape, I have to give the machine enough time to get up to speed. I can't just hit the record button and start speaking. That's not going to work, because when you're dealing with tape, you have to wait for things to get up to speed and start rolling. I've got a piece of heat shrink tubing here. It's the smallest stuff I've got, which is way too big, but I'm curious as to see how small it will shrink down. So I've just cut a small little piece right here. I keep looking at the wrong monitor. I keep going to look up at my regular monitor and realizing that this camera is on the other one. But anyway, I got a piece of heat shrink tubing here. I'm going to throw some heat on it. I want to see how small this stuff will actually shrink, and whether this might be useful. And we'll try this on a VHS machine as well. So this is not just going to be on this camcorder. I'm going to try the same thing on a VHS machine. We'll pull one apart and we'll pull the retainer clip off and see whether we can make one up from this stuff. So anyway, this is going to be fun. I'll just excuse me for a second, try not to burn the place down. I'll just put this onto the end of my little, we'll see how small this stuff will shrink, and it might just do the job. Well, I don't know. I think that we might be in luck. That looks to be almost the right size. I just wonder if I can, whether it's small enough to stick on here now, or whether I have to shrink it once I put it on the camera. But let's see. Now remember, the little mini DV camera that I was working on yesterday, or the big mini DV camera, the Canon, the size was exactly the same. So I'm curious. I didn't want to try this on a customer's unit, so I pulled the piece off of this one. But now I'm curious whether this small heat shrink tubing will actually do the job of holding the pinch roller in place. So let's just carefully try to put this piece on. And will it fit? You know what? It fits, and it's snug, and the roller can turn. Will it keep the pinch roller from moving? I gotta push that down more. Let me just grab a screwdriver here, and we'll push this down all the way down. You know what? I think I can get that all the way down there, and that will hold that pinch roller. Just find something else, just push it down, a small screwdriver, so that I can push this flush. And I bet you that will hold that pinch roller in place. And that would be great news for anybody that's got one of these tops, the retainer is broken, because you can't get those retainers anymore. And wouldn't that be something? Just a piece, something as simple as heat shrink tubing. Shrink it down and push it over top of the pin. And gee, I hope my sound is on. I haven't even looked to see whether my sound is on this thing. And would that be something if the audio level was turned down to minimum? That would just be a real kick in the head, wouldn't it? I was going to say kick in something else, because this camera does have manual level controls, and I forget what it was set in the last time I used it. I think it's in automatic, but I should just double check and make sure that it is. It's auto. Okay, good. The problem with it being mounted where it is this camera is so big I can't see the top of it. It's above my head, so I have to tilt it up in order to see what I'm doing. It's a big and heavy camera. Not as heavy as that Canon, but it's still relatively heavy. And this one you don't have the benefit of putting it on your shoulder. But look at that. That pinch roller is not going anywhere. I would say that that is a success. So there you guys go. If you're looking for something, get yourself some heat shrink tubing, some small heat shrink tubing, shrink it down, and it will replace the broken clip. Let's grab a VHS machine. I'm going to grab one that it'll be a working machine. I'm going to pull the pinch roller retainer off, and we'll try a pinch roller retainer with this, and then we'll test the machine out. Obviously, I can't test this camera because this camera is in pieces. This is just a scrap camera. This is one that all the caps are leaking on, right? So this is one that is just a parts wrecker, and but hey, I used it to fix that cannon, the part off of this one to fix the cannon, and now it looks like I didn't even need to do that. But I didn't want to try this on a customer's machine because I was concerned it might not fit or whatever, and I didn't have that idea. I actually came up with that idea after doing it. I thought, after putting it together and testing, I thought, I wonder if heat shrink would do it. So I started looking through my small heat shrink, and this piece does the job. So let me grab a VHS machine, and we'll pull apart a VHS machine and try the same thing on that. A VHS machine. I don't even know if this thing works, you know. I haven't even looked at this thing yet. This was given to me. I don't know whether this works. It's all covered in dust. But let's see whether I can fit the pinch roller on this one. It's not broken, but we're going to take it apart, and we're going to make it broken and see whether I can replace it with a similar makeup. So there's the pinch roller. As you can see, it's got the retainer here. We'll just take the old one off and try to replace it with heat shrink. So let's just move this machine out of the way for now. So here's the pinch roller. We'll zoom in the camera in a bit. Zoom in. See, one of the nice things about this old camera is, look at this, the zoom on this is beautiful. Not that it isn't on my other cameras, but it's full variable speed, so I can go real slow. It's a servo zoom. Whoa. One of my favorite cameras of its day. This camera is 2004. So this camera's 18 years old, and you saw this camera repaired because it buggered up and it wouldn't eject the tape, and I pulled it all apart. And that was just because it was sitting. One of the switches went bad, so I've promised myself that my old cameras will get turned on and get a tape loaded in them once in a while, just to make sure that everything continues to work like it's supposed to. And that is why this project for today. Don't get too used to it though, because this is a lot of work to do this production on tape. This is a lot of work. This is more of a let's keep the equipment functional type of project. So there is the clip from this one that I'm going to likely lose if I'm not careful. There's the clip. So the capstan sits in place, or the pinch roller sits in place like that. Normally this clip is pushed down over top of it to hold it in place. Which way did it come out? I think it was this way. Yeah, it was that way because I kind of dented the top of it. So here's a piece of heat shrink tubing. The heat shrink tubing looks to be like it's probably going to work. I need a piece approximately that long. So let me just cut a piece of heat shrink tubing approximately the same length as the original. So we'll cut it right about there. There, that's probably about the right length. And this one here will probably slip over here no problem, even without shrinking it down. But the problem is it's just going to fall off. So we need to shrink this down. Another approach to this might be to put a flame on it. But or something hot. Soldering iron, that might do the job. Let's try that. Let's heat the soldering iron up, because I don't think the heat gun's going to work on this one. The heat gun is it's like using a bazooka when all you need is a 22. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let the soldering iron get good and hot, and I'm going to apply the soldering iron right to the metal pin, which will transfer heat down the metal pin into the heat shrink tubing, and hopefully that will seat it. I think it probably will. Hey, it's all about learning how to do things, right? So that's what today's video is. When you're in a bind and you've got one of these, and this will work with pinch rollers that are vertical or mounted mounted either upside down or right side up. This will this should work for either one if it works, and I'm pretty confident that it's going to work. So we'll push the heat shrink tubing down all the way. And now I'll just get in here with my iron and I'll start to heat it up. And if I get enough heat on here, it should cause that heat shrink tubing to completely shrink down and prevent the pinch roller from coming off. I would not advise doing this if the bearing is made out of plastic on the center of that pinch roller. I'll probably do this with a flame too, but I don't want to damage the rubber. That's why I'm doing it this way. Well, I probably would have done it if I had continued long enough, but I wanted to check it, and I pulled the pinch roller up a bit, and it slid up, and of course the end of the pin was hot, and it shrunk my heat shrink tubing down. So that probably would have worked if I'd done it long enough. But let's try something else. Let's try putting a flame on it this time. I'm going to get my little trusty little Bic lighter out if I can find it, and I'm just going to try sticking a bit of a flame in there and try not to melt the rubber while I'm at it, and see whether that will do the job. I just got to find this old cigarette lighter. It was one that I confiscated from my kids when they were teenagers, and trying to say that they were just holding the lighter for their friend. Yeah. No, honestly, I don't smoke. I'm just holding the lighter for my friend. Yeah. You think I believe that for 1 second? Not. So I got a couple of them kicking around here. Just got to find them. We're going to try a couple different ways on this, by the way. But, okay, I got the lighter. I told you I don't smoke. So I got this little thing, and we'll see if I can get a flame into this that will do the job without damaging the rubber. Ooh, that's a big flame on this thing. That makes me nervous that it's going to do some damage, so I might not want to do that, because that flame is pretty big. So that kind of rules out using a flame, doesn't it? Okay, we're back to maybe if I don't know. Should I try pre-shrinking it with the heat gun and then pushing it down as it starts to shrink? Okay, that side has shrunk down a bit. Will it? Can I turn this around, or am I just wasting my time? We already know it works for 8mm in mini DV, so that's the thing. Or maybe a bigger piece of heat shrink tubing and just shrink it down and it might fit. But I'd really like to be able to get this one on if I can. I guess the other alternative would be to put the heat on the metal and let it just conduct down the metal, like I did with the soldering iron, and just let it go longer. I mean, shrinking the end of it here, though, it certainly will stop it from moving, that's for sure. That might be all you need to do, is just shrink the end of the heat shrink tubing and push it down. That might be the solution, because that is not going to move now, you see. And now just throw some more heat on here to try to shrink the rest of it. Back to using the old soldering iron, and we'll just let it sit on here for a while and let this thing just heat up good. I'm being careful not to touch the actual roller itself, just the pin. It's starting to get warm on this side. Let's see how well that's attached. It seems to be on there pretty good. Oh yeah, that's not coming off. That's excellent. Really pulling that quite hard to move that off. At least as hard as the other one. So Now if I really want to make it solid, I'll turn it around so the side that was shrunk the most will go down, and then I can throw some more heat onto this top side and just shrink it a little more and then push it back on. I'll probably do it. We can put this in the VCR and see what it does. And it certainly will work for the mini DV and the 8mm camera, that's for sure. Okay, let's plug this thing in. Well, let's put the pinch roller back in first. Might help. Okay, let's plug this thing. I don't know if it works, so we'll find out. We'll find out pretty quick if the VCR works. Grab my old test tape and I guess it's dead. This VCR is totally dead. We got power to the outlet. So, okay, well, I guess we're going to be fixing this one on a future video. But here we go. Now we know what's next. I got a busted VCR to fix. That's probably why it was given to me, because it's broken. But I think the pinch roller probably will be okay. That yeah, it's tight, so I think we're okay. Anyway, that's all I wanted to show you on this one, dealing with this archaic old equipment that it's going to take me twice as long to edit this thing as it should, because I got to go and got to rewind the tape, I got to capture the tape, then I have to edit the tape, or edit the files. So that's it. Now you guys know how to make a retainer for a pinch roller out of a piece of heat shrink tubing. Hope you learned something here. We'll catch you in the next one. Bye for now.